Welcome back. This is where we take sources you send us, often fascinating ones, and really dig into them to pull out the key insights.
Yeah, basically helping you get the full picture without having to sift through everything yourself.
Exactly. And today we've got a YouTube transcript. It's from a channel called Issue SD.
Which translates roughly to true stories and real tales.
Right. And our mention today, we're unpacking this really compelling story. It's full of unexpected events, some tricky moral questions.
Oh, definitely. It all happened in the border regions of the Middle East around 1401 or 1402 in the Islamic calendar.
Which for context is about 1980 to 1982, specifically in the R region near the Saudi border.
And you can expect some real twists, moments where you think you know what's going on and then suddenly, nope.
That's what makes it so interesting. Okay, so let's jump in. The story centers on a man living in Arar.
And the transcript makes it clear he wasn't exactly wealthy. He had several daughters and, well, he needed to make some money.
A familiar situation for many. So he comes up with a plan.
He does. He teams up with a friend. Their idea is to travel to Syria, buy sheep relatively cheaply, and then bring them back to Saudi Arabia to sell for profit.
Now, this sounds straightforward, but the border situation back then was different, wasn't it?
Very different. The source highlights that the borders between Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Iraq weren't as rigid for herders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, under the customs system at the time, moving sheep across wasn't the huge hurdle it might be today. There was a certain, let's say, fluidity.
That context is crucial. So it made their plan seem feasible, at least.
Right. So they set out, they take a car, drive through Jordan, and get up into northern Syria.
And they timed this trip pretty well, didn't they?
They really did. They bought the sheep in springtime. Good timing.
Better weather for travel. Healthier animals, perhaps?
Exactly. And the price was right. The transcript mentions they paid about 250 Saudi reals per sheep.
Which sounds low. How does that compare?
Well, the narrator contrasts it later, saying around 1420 AH, maybe 10 years or so after this, a good slaughtered sheep in Saudi could fetch 400, 500 rials.
Wow. Okay, so potentially a very decent profit margin there.
A significant one, yeah, if they could get the sheep back.
Right, that's the big if. So they buy a large number of sheep. Getting them home wasn't just loading up a truck, I assume.
Oh, no, not at all. They actually hire a shepherd to help manage the flock.
So 3 people involved now.
3 people. The narrator drives the car, his friend and the hired shepherd walk alongside the sheep, kind of flanking them to keep them moving together.
And what about at night in open country?
Good question. No portable fences back then, apparently. So their routine was for all 3 of them to basically surround the sheep, using themselves as a human barrier to keep the flock contained overnight.
That sounds exhausting. Hard work.
Definitely. And they weren't exactly taking the highway back, were they?
No, the transcript says they took an indirect route. Why was that?
Well, they were essentially smuggling the sheep back across the border, avoiding the formal checkpoint, so they were deliberately going south, then north, kind of zigzagging to avoid detection.
Adding another layer of difficulty to an already tough journey. Okay, so they've navigated Syria, crossed back into Jordan. They're close to the Saudi border. Almost home free.
Almost. But then disaster strikes. Or, well, a setback anyway. A really strong wind kicks up during the night.
Like a storm.
Sounds like it. And when they wake up, they realize over 50 sheep are just gone.
50. That's a huge loss, especially for someone trying to make ends meet.
Devastating, potentially. A big chunk of their potential profit just vanished overnight.
So what does the narrator do? Panic.
He seems pretty pragmatic, actually. He tells his friend and the shepherd, you guys stay here with the rest of the flock.
Okay.
I'll take the car and go track the lost ones. He decides to go after them himself, alone.
Bold move. Was tracking them easy.
Far from it. He describes the terrain, patches of sand where tracks are clear, then gravel where they're harder to see, then rocky areas where they disappear completely.
Ugh. Frustrating.
Extremely. He says he drove for maybe 35, 40 kilometers, searching and searching. This goes on all day until it's almost sunset. He's getting desperate.
You can just picture it. Tired, worried about the sheep, the light fading.
Exactly. And then something completely unexpected happens. He mentions feeling hungry. He recites a line of poetry to himself, maybe trying to keep his spirits up.
And then?
And then he spots something. A small car, he calls it a huzniya, describes it maybe like a small Mercedes type parked near a Bedouin tent.
Okay. Just a random tent.
Not quite. He immediately feels uneasy. He recognizes the area or the type of setup as potentially belonging to Arab Alishi.
And who are they?
According to the transcript, they were a Bedouin group known in that region. Let's just say they had a reputation for raiding, not necessarily friendly faces.
Ah. So, finding lost sheep suddenly becomes the least of his worries. He approaches cautiously.
Very cautiously. But as he gets closer, it's clear something is seriously wrong. It's not a peaceful camp.
What does he see? Or hear?
He hears shouting, men and women. He sees a tribal elder, an older man, tied up, and there's blood on his face.
Oh, wow. Okay.
An elderly woman is tied up too. He hears another woman crying inside the tent, and then he sees two men physically dragging a third man out of the tent.
This is bad. This is way beyond lost sheep.
Way beyond. It's clearly some kind of violent conflict or attack happening right in front of him.
So what does he do? Does he just back away slowly?
He tries to figure out what's going on first. He calls out the traditional greeting, Yalla bait, Yalla bait. You know, people of the house.
Trying to announce himself? Maybe de-escalate?
Maybe, but the two men involved in the struggle, they are not happy to see him. They yell at him, basically, get lost, get out of here, in Gala Anak. They try to run him off.
But he doesn't leave.
He can't, because just then, the tied-up elder sees him and makes a plea.
What does he say?
This is really significant culturally. The elder says he's under the protection of God, and then crucially under the narrator's protection. He basically invokes this code of honor, putting the responsibility on the narrator to help him.
That's a heavy appeal.
Immense. And to underscore the danger, the elder shouts that there's a gun inside the tent.
Okay, so now the narrator knows this isn't just a scuffle. Lives are potentially at stake.
Exactly. He realizes he's stumbled into something incredibly serious, probably a raid or an abduction attempt.
So the guy who just wanted to sell some sheep, what's his next move? He's outnumbered.
He acts decisively. He pulls out his own gun. Remember, this is the border region. People often carried weapons for protection.
Right.
He warns the men there are 3 attackers now involved in the confrontation with them. He tells them to back off.
Do they listen?
No. He even fires 2 warning shots into the air. Standard procedure, maybe, but they keep coming towards him.
Wow. Okay, this is escalating fast.
It is. So, faced with 3 advancing men who ignored warning shots, he makes a split-second decision. He aims low and shoots one of them in the ankle.
In the ankle. So deliberately not a kill shot.
Seems that way. An attempt to incapacitate, to stop the attack, and it works.
How so?
Seeing their companion go down, the other 2 attackers immediately lose their nerve. They turn tail, jump back in that Husniya car, and drive off fast.
Okay. The immediate threat is gone. The attackers fled. What about the family?
His first action is to help them. He unties the elder and ties the elderly woman.
And the crying woman inside.
Turns out she's their daughter, a young woman described as being of marriageable age, and she was tied up too.
So it was an abduction attempt.
Looks like it. The transcript clarifies the context. The narrator is Saudi. The attackers were Jordanian, apparently from known tribes. Kidnapping the daughter seems to have been the goal, a huge violation of honor.
He literally saved her and the family. What happens right after? Is everyone okay?
Well, they're shaken, obviously. The elder is furious. He actually grabs a tent pole, like a club.
To go after the wounded guy.
Yeah, the attacker who was shot is still there, on the ground. But the narrator stops the elder, tells him not to kill the wounded man.
Showing remarkable cool-headedness again.
Right. He prevents further violence, then gets them some water, tries to calm things down.
Okay, so he's the hero of the hour. Rescued the family, stopped a kidnapping, prevented a revenge killing. Surely the authorities will see it that way.
You would absolutely think so, but this story, it just keeps twisting.
Uh-oh. What happens next?
The 2 attackers who fled, they don't just disappear. They drive straight to the nearest police station about 7 kilometers away.
To turn themselves in. Confess.
Not quite. They tell the police a completely different story. They claim that one of their companions was killed by a Saudi guy.
Killed?
Yeah.
But he just shot him in the ankle.
Exactly. And they use the narrator's car license plate, which they must have noted to identify him. They frame him as the aggressor, the killer.
That is audacious.
Yeah.
So they flipped the entire script.
Completely. And the police, they respond to that report.
You're kidding.
Nope. A police jeep shows up at the tent. Just one officer initially, maybe another person with him.
Okay. Does the narrator explain? Does the family back him up?
He explains exactly what happened. And yes, the family, the elder, the wife, presumably the daughter, they confirm his story right there to the police officer.
Phew. Okay, so truth prevails.
You'd think, but no. The police officer listens, and then arrests the narrator.
Arrests him, the rescuer.
Handcuffs him, puts him in the Jeep. They arrange to take the wounded attacker to the hospital, and they take the narrator straight to jail.
I don't understand. The family corroborated his story.
It makes no logical sense from the outside, does it? But that's what happened. The narrator himself said he was initially hopeful, thinking, okay, this is a misunderstanding, it'll get sorted out.
But it didn't.
It got worse. Much worse. After just 4 or 5 hours in the local jail, they tell him his case is serious. Really serious. And he's being transferred to Amman.
To the capital guy.
Presumably because the accusation is now effectively murder or attempted murder involving citizens of 2 different countries based on the attacker's false report, it's become a major incident.
This poor guy. From trying to find lost sheep to being arrested and sent to Amman for a crime he didn't commit, in fact, the opposite.
It's an incredible turn of events. So now he's in Amman facing interrogation.
Does he stick to his story?
Absolutely. He tells them everything, just as it happened, stopped for coffee near the tent, heard the commotion, saw the tied-up family, the attackers intervened to help. The whole thing.
Okay. And the police in Amman, do they see sense?
Well, this is where the ultimate betrayal happens. The police tell him, that's your story, but the tribal elder, he's telling us something completely different.
No. What's the elder saying now?
The elder is claiming that 4 men showed up at his tent, including the narrator.
What?
That these 4 men started fighting amongst themselves and that he, the elder, didn't know any of them.
He's lumping the narrator in with the attackers, the man who saved his daughter.
Yes. Both the elder and his wife are now insisting to the police that the narrator was part of the group that caused the trouble, that some dispute broke out, and that led to the shooting. They are completely denying he was a rescuer.
I'm speechless. Why would they do that? Why betray the person who helped them so dramatically?
The transcript doesn't explicitly state their motive right then, but it leaves the narrator in an absolutely terrible position. His word against the victims he saved.
And the police obviously believe the elder.
It seems they're giving the elder's testimony a significant weight. They warn the narrator, this is serious. His story contradicts yours. You could be in deep trouble.
He must have been devastated, utterly betrayed.
He describes that feeling precisely, complete shock and despair. He keeps asking the police, let me talk to the elder, let me confront him.
But they refused.
They refused. He ends up spending 15 days locked up in Amman. 15 days just stewing in anxiety, wondering how this could possibly happen.
15 days is a long time to be wrongly imprisoned based on a lie from someone you saved. It seems hopeless.
It really does. But then another turning point. A glimmer of hope arrives.
Oh, what happened?
A police officer comes to see him, but this officer is different. He's a Bedouin himself and respected. The narrator says he felt a connection, a sense of hope just seeing him.
Okay. Does he talk to this officer?
He pleads his case passionately. He invokes their shared Bedouin values, kinship, honor, fear of God. He lays out the real story again. The sheep buying trip, getting lost, the accidental discovery of the kidnapping, his intervention. He stresses his friend back near the border, knows nothing about this part.
Does the Bedouin officer believe him?
The narrator feels he does. The officer seems sympathetic, maybe recognizes the ring of truth in the story and the appeal to shared culture, but
the elder's accusation is still the official record.
Exactly. The officer says, basically, I hear you, I lean towards believing you, but my hands are tied because of what the elder claims. It's a major obstacle.
So what can he do?
The officer comes up with a plan. He says he knows the emir or the sheikh, the leader of the elder's specific tribe.
Going higher up the chain, but within the tribal structure.
Precisely. He figures he can use his own Bedouin background and connections to approach this sheikh, explain the situation, and ask for his help in getting to the truth. It's a culturally savvy move.
Meanwhile, what about the friend? The one left waiting with the sheep near the border. He must be frantic by now.
Absolutely frantic. 15 days is a long time for his friend to just vanish after going to look for sheep. So he starts asking around.
Talking to other Bedouins in the area.
Yeah, visiting nearby encampments, asking if anyone's seen his friend, his car. Eventually, word gets around about the incident at the tent, the man involved, the police taking someone away.
He pieces it together.
He does. He eventually finds out his friend isn't just missing, he's been arrested and taken to Amman.
So he heads to Amman.
He gets there as quickly as he can, finds the police station, learns the full, shocking story of the accusations. Imagine his relief mixed with horror.
At least the narrator isn't completely alone anymore. And the Bedouin officer's plan, did it work?
It did. The officer went to see the sheikh of the elders' tribe, just as he planned.
How did that go?
He laid out the whole story, vouched for the narrator, appealed to the sheik's sense of justice. The sheik apparently had guests at the time, but he immediately grasped the seriousness and the potential injustice.
He agreed to help.
He promised he would go to the prison in Amman the very next day to meet the narrator himself.
That's a significant intervention. What happened at the prison meeting?
The narrator tells the sheik everything again. He emphasizes the details, the family being tied up, the blood on the elder's head. He swears he didn't know any of these people, attackers or family, before that moment. Pure chance.
And the sheik?
He listens intently. Then, armed with the narrator's detailed account, he goes directly to the elder and his wife.
The confrontation, how does that unfold?
The sheik confronts them. He specifically asks the elder about the head wound. The elder apparently tries to brush it off, saying, "Oh, I just fell."
Fell? Seriously?
Yeah, a pretty weak excuse given the circumstances. The sheik doesn't buy it. He appeals directly to their conscience, reminding them forcefully, "This stranger risked his life for you, for your daughter, and you repay him with lies."
He calls them out on the betrayal. Did it work?
It seems the pressure started to tell, but the real breakthrough came from someone else.
Ooh.
The daughter, the young woman who was saved. She speaks to the sheik, her uncle.
She tells the truth.
Courageously, yes. She confirms every single detail of the narrator's story. She tells her uncle flat out that her father is lying, that the narrator saved them. She says she's afraid for the narrator and also afraid of the potential tribal conflict this lie could cause.
Wow. That took incredible bravery, contradicting her own father in that context.
Absolutely pivotal moment. Her testimony breaks the whole thing open.
What's the sheik's reaction to that and to the elder?
He is furious with the elder and his wife. He gives them a stern reprimand, telling them how much shame their lies and ingratitude have brought upon them. The betrayal of someone who acted honorably was a serious offense in their culture.
So, the truth is finally out. What happens then?
The sheik takes the elder and his wife straight to the police station in Amman.
And they confess. Retract the false story.
They do. They formally retract their accusations against the narrator.
Finally. So he's released immediately.
He's released on bail. The wheels of justice turn, even if slowly and strangely sometimes. But it's not quite over. There's the matter of tribal justice, too.
Ah, right. The attackers. What happens with them?
The elders' tribe, led by the sheik, initiates a case against the 3 attackers under customary tribal law. The transcript notes that in the Jordanian Badia, tribal law was, and perhaps still is, very powerful, sometimes more so than the state courts for these kinds of intertribal issues.
So the attackers would face consequences through that system.
Severe consequences, it's implied. The expectation was that the judgment against them for the attempted kidnapping and false accusation would be harsh. This would also serve to fully vindicate the narrator and restore his honor publicly.
And what about the narrator? Does he get any apology or compensation?
Yes. The elder, or maybe it was the sheik acting on his behalf, gives the narrator a new gun to replace the one used in the rescue, a symbolic and practical gesture.
And hospitality.
Oh, yes. They treat him with great generosity and respect, acknowledging what he did and the wrong he suffered. And to make sure he gets home safely this time,
What do?
they provide an escort. 5 shepherds from their tribe accompany him and his remaining sheep all the way back across the border to Arar in Saudi Arabia.
Quite a gesture, ensuring his safe passage after everything.
A necessary one, perhaps, given the potential for lingering bad blood or further trouble. It shows they took responsibility for ensuring his safety on their territory.
So he finally makes it home, sheep and all. What an unbelievable ordeal.
What's the takeaway lesson the narrator himself mentions? It's interesting. He says he learned that, maybe be cautious about jumping into things based on hearsay or appearances. But, and this is key, he says he would never stop doing good for others despite the terrible way he was treated.
Wow. To maintain that moral compass after being betrayed like that? That's resilience.
It really is a refusal to let one profoundly negative experience poison his view on helping people.
This has been, well, quite the deep dive. A story that started with sheep trading and spiraled into kidnapping, false accusations, imprisonment, and finally a kind of complex, culturally specific justice.
Absolutely. Shows the wild turns life can take, the extremes of human behavior, incredible bravery right alongside shocking betrayal.
And that aha moment, for me at least, with the daughter's courage. Stepping up to tell the truth against her own family, knowing the stakes, That was powerful.
Definitely a testament to integrity, and it highlights how justice isn't always just about formal courts, is it? Tribal customs, honor codes, the intervention of respected figures like the sheik, they all played a huge role here.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you encounter a situation that seems wrong, what are the risks of getting involved? What are the potential rewards, not just for others, but for your own sense of right and wrong?
And how do concepts like truth and justice play out differently in different cultures, outside of the legal systems we might be most familiar with? This story shows it can be incredibly complex.
Indeed. Plenty to mull over there. Thanks for joining us for this fascinating exploration.